We were just looking for a bit of adventure. The world outside our small town was monotonous, suffocating in its predictability. So when Eric suggested we check out Nocturne Valley, a place whispered about in hushed tones, it didn't take much to convince us. It was supposed to be a weekend of fun and thrills, a break from our uneventful lives. We had no idea what we were walking into. Eric, Claire, Sam, and I packed our gear and set off early Saturday morning. The drive itself was eerie. Fog rolled in thick waves, and the sun seemed reluctant to rise, casting the world in perpetual twilight. When we reached the edge of Nocturne Valley, the air felt different, heavier. It was as if the forest itself was breathing, waiting. The entrance to the valley was marked by an old, rusted gate that creaked in protest as we pushed it open. The path beyond was overgrown, yet unmistakably trodden, a silent invitation for the curious or the foolish. Claire, ever the skeptic, laughed off our unease. "It's just a forest, guys. Don't let those old stories get to you." We pressed on, the dense canopy above swallowing what little light remained. Shadows stretched and twisted around us, and the usual sounds of nature were conspicuously absent. No birds, no rustling leaves. Just the crunch of our footsteps and the occasional drip of water from unseen heights. Our first destination was the heart of the valley, where an abandoned cabin stood. According to the local lore, it had been the home of a reclusive artist who disappeared under mysterious circumstances. They said his madness lingered in the walls, a place where reality and insanity blurred. We reached the cabin by dusk. It was a decrepit structure, half consumed by nature, yet there was something compelling about it. Eric, with his insatiable curiosity, pushed the door open. It groaned like a dying man, revealing a musty, dark interior. "Check this out," Sam called from the corner, holding up a journal he found on a dusty shelf. The pages were yellowed, brittle, and filled with frantic sketches and cryptic writings. The last entry caught our attention. "The shadows watch. The forest speaks. The valley is a gateway, and it is hungry." Suddenly, a loud thud echoed from the back room. Claire screamed, and we all jumped, hearts pounding. "It's probably just an animal," I said, more to reassure myself than anyone else. We decided to investigate, moving as a group. The room was empty, but a window was open, curtains fluttering as if something had just slipped out. We decided to stay the night in the cabin, despite our unease. We gathered in the main room, lighting a fire to chase away the cold. As the night deepened, the sense of being watched intensified. The shadows seemed to pulse with a life of their own, flickering and shifting just beyond the firelight. Eric suggested we take turns keeping watch. I took the first shift, staring into the dark, listening to the silence. It was during my watch that I saw it, a figure, barely visible, standing just outside the window. Its eyes glowed faintly like embers in the night. I blinked and it was gone, leaving only an imprint on my mind. When I woke Eric for his shift, I didn't mention the figure. I convinced myself it was a trick of the light, my imagination running wild. But as I lay down to sleep, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were not alone. The next morning, we found strange markings around the cabin, symbols etched into the ground. Sam, our resident mythology buff, said they looked like wards, meant to trap or repel something. We decided to leave, but the forest had other plans. The path we came on was gone, swallowed by the dense undergrowth. We were trapped. Panic set in as we wandered, trying to find our way out. The trees seemed to close in around us, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching out. Time lost meaning as hours blurred into an endless twilight. Claire, usually so grounded, began muttering to herself, her eyes darting to unseen horrors. It was Eric who first noticed the change in Sam. He had grown quiet, his eyes distant. When we stopped to rest, he would wander off, returning with a vacant look. That night, as we huddled together, we heard him talking to someone, or something, in the dark. His voice was low, urgent, as if pleading. The next day, Sam was gone. We searched frantically, calling his name, but all we found were more of those strange symbols, freshly carved into the trees. The forest seemed to mock us, our cries swallowed by its oppressive silence. Desperation drove us deeper into the valley, hoping to find some clue, some way out. We stumbled upon a clearing with a stone altar at its center. The air was thick with a sense of ancient dread. Claire broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. Eric tried to comfort her, but his own fear was palpable. As night fell, the forest came alive with whispers, a cacophony of voices speaking in tongues long forgotten. The ground beneath the altar shifted, revealing a staircase descending into darkness. We had no choice but to enter, hoping it led to our escape. The descent was disorienting, the air growing colder with each step. At the bottom, we found a cavern lit by an eerie bioluminescence. Strange runes covered the walls, pulsing with an unnatural light. In the center stood a stone pedestal with an ancient tome resting upon it. Eric, drawn by some unseen force, approached the pedestal. "This must be the key," he whispered, reaching out to touch the book. As his fingers brushed the cover, a deafening roar echoed through the cavern, and the ground trembled. The shadows coalesced into a towering figure, a monstrous entity with eyes like burning coals. It spoke in a voice that resonated with pure malevolence. "You should not have come here." The creature lashed out, and Eric was flung across the cavern, his body crumpling against the wall. Claire screamed, and I pulled her back, desperate to find a way out. The creature advanced, its form shifting and contorting, a living nightmare. With no other option, I grabbed the tome, hoping it held some answer. The moment I touched it, visions flooded my mind, images of the artist, his descent into madness, and the dark force that consumed him. The valley was a nexus, a place where the boundaries between worlds were thin, and the creature was its guardian. Realizing what needed to be done, I began reciting the incantations inscribed in the tome. The creature roared in defiance, its form unraveling as the words took hold. The cavern shook violently, and the walls began to collapse. "Run!" I shouted to Claire. We sprinted up the staircase, the ground crumbling behind us. We burst out of the cavern just as it sealed itself shut, the forest returning to its oppressive silence. We stumbled through the valley, our minds and bodies exhausted. By some miracle, we found the path and emerged from the forest as dawn broke. The once thick fog had lifted, revealing the road back to town. Eric didn't make it, and Sam was never found. Claire and I were forever changed, haunted by what we had witnessed. We never spoke of Nocturne Valley again, but the shadows of that place lingered, a constant reminder of the horrors that lurk just beyond the veil of our understanding.